And Sam is on his way, he just texted.
Okay.
Oh, we did?
Yeah. Alright, so it's now 6 o'clock, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Agenda review and disposition, is there anything to add?
Just under other business, lunch prices.
Okay, and then, minutes of April 7th. There's only one thing that I noticed when I was looking at them today, which was that Stephanie Halter was listed. However, she was not present.
Oh,
Yeah.
in the member presence?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Good call.
And I noticed for the principal's nomination, it says formerly principal of Rochester, which is right, but right now she's the principal of Bristol.
Correct.
Correct, right.
So we should probably put Bristol.
Currently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that was the other thing that I thought too.
Oh, okay.
Good thinking,
All right.
good thinking, great minds. Jess, did you have any questions or anything on the minutes, Jen? And Fran, is there anything else that you wanted to add? Okay, perfect, so just, we need an approval with those changes,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the changes noted.
okay?
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, perfect. Minutes passed with those changes, thank you Jenny, as always. Principal's report.
Good evening.
Hi,
Hi.
welcome back from vacay.
Thank you. Our current enrollment is at 387. It is the start of the month of May, and we have a student start today, another student starting tomorrow, so,
Holy moly.
So does that 387 include the students starting tomorrow?
yes, it
Okay.
does. This is Teacher Appreciation Week nationally, so I'd like to take a moment to just really shout out all of the teachers at Plymouth Elementary School. The building is full of fantastic teachers, and I really do mean that. We have an amazing staff in this building. Thank you to all of them for their hard work, commitment, and willingness to support the students here. Recently, I've been doing a number of teacher observations and had the opportunity to see a number of people teaching and really expert craftsmanship in the classroom teaching. So, Teacher Appreciation Week is 1 week of the year, but I think with where we are as a nation and in this state, I just want to stand up very publicly and say we have people in this building who come to work every day and work really hard for students. So thank you to all the teachers. Coming up, this is important, May 8th is Kindergarten Connections, and I have big news for this board. As of today, we are up to 42 confirmed and scheduled students and we are aware of an additional 2 students already. So I am making a recommendation to the school board that we move to 3 homes for kindergarten for next year.
So we can pause right there.
Yeah.
As far as adding an additional teacher, that would be for 1 year. I did look at the financials, and given the staff exchanges of the new personnel, with the departing personnel, you do have the funds to support that, as a 1 year only. And then we'll have to make a determination for budget, but we rarely, 40 is that magic number. Having over 20 kindergarten kids in the classroom is pretty high.
Yeah.
So I would like your approval to move forward with a 1 year only position.
Yeah, I'm in support of that, and you looked at the budget numbers and as long as the
Yeah, Dan
budget
and I
supports
reviewed
it.
them today, and given the new staff coming in, we do have the funds to do that.
Okay.
So can I move that?
Yes,
I move that we have a 1 year teaching position for kindergarten for next year.
Sorry,
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
so if it's a 1 year position, and so that means when we do the budget next year, we'll have to make sure that we include that position.
if we still need it.
If
The
there's
numbers
something
still
that
warrant
your
that.
numbers support it.
It's right on the bubble each year, so we'll have to see if our numbers are sustained or they drop in a certain class. We may be good with the staffing that we had budgeted for next year, but right now with that kindergarten bubble, it's the 1 year. And I think at our October count, we'll determine what we'll need for the following year.
Okay, so we're not tying ourselves in. We're not
No.
tying-
Right, we're not tying it in.
And I just want to make sure that the teacher union understands that this is a 1 year position.
Yes,
Okay.
that's how it will be advertised.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And just for knowledge for newer board members. We often at this time of year have about 30 that we, and last year, I think by this time of the year, we were, under 20. We were, and we were, then had some challenging conversations around what was going to happen and had to make some last minute decisions. And it's not good for anyone to wait too long on that creates stress. Because we already have over 40, and we, between now and September, might get 5, 8, 10 more, then you start to really think, ooh, goodness, and that, right? I think we're doing a better and better each year at getting the word out, please register. We get in touch with some of the landlords and say, do you have a family with young kids? We get in contact with all of the childcare facilities. So we hope that we're getting the best number we can at any given time.
And that goes internal posting first,
Yeah,
and then if somebody internally posts, then it might end up that you're advertising for a different position. If somebody's, let's say, a fourth grade
somebody
teacher
applying for it.
decides that they want to go to kindergarten or whatever, a special ed teacher wants to go back
the
to
administration
kindergarten.
makes teaching assignments.
Right, okay.
So we approve
Right.
the number of people, teachers, faculty
Right.
and staff.
But I'm just saying, if we might see it advertised
Correct.
Yes.
as a different position, correct? or
Well,
not?
No.
we advertise for K-6
Okay,
or middle
okay.
school, so we don't advertise,
Okay.
and teacher contracts say
Right,
teacher,
Right,
not
I understand.
third
that.
grade teacher
Right.
or seventh grade teacher.
It would just reflect either K or K6 or 1 year only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to be aware that if it's posted differently, then we all know why. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is a motion on the table. Okay, all in favor of that? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. It's exciting.
That's
Well,
good.
to have it bumped up in enrollment is good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, cause
Yeah,
that
no,
makes
no.
up for our
But the class
shortfall.
above it is, still right around 20, well, it says right here, it's at 28 today.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
that's a big difference, right?
It's great. Thank you.
Continuing on, there's no school on May 26th, Memorial Day. May 28th is our spring concerts. Grades 4 and 5 will have their concert at 6 p.m. and grades 6 through 8 will be at 6:45 p.m. Once again, that's May 28th, which is a Wednesday night,
And what time will it be, 6 to 8 grade?
6:45.
Okay, thank you.
May 29th is the last day of after-school rec clubs. June 4th is our gathering of gratitude. Highly recommend that you all come to that. Gathering of Gratitude is a fantastic night.
And the new principal and associate principal will be here to meet parents as well
Awesome.
for that night.
June 4th and June 5th are the Scholastic Book Fair. Friday, June 13th is 8th grade graduation at 6 p.m. And Tuesday, June 17th is the official last day of school. It's a half day.
Can you give me those 2 dates again?
Friday, June 13th is 8th grade graduation, 6 p.m. in the gymnasium at Plymouth Elementary School. We will have the flag this year. Remember last year? Tuesday, June 17th, last day of school, half day. Wanted to let you know that coming up, starting next week, will be New Hampshire SAS testing for grades 3 through 8. So we're gonna break that up, 3 days next week and then 2 days the week after. So last year and continuing this year, we do all the testing for all the grades on the same day. So we give breakfast to anyone who wants it in the common areas to make sure that everyone gets some good food in their belly. And the whole school is quiet at the same time. Everyone's focused on doing their best. We do little pep talks and move forward with that. If anyone ever has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer questions, specific questions about New Hampshire SAS testing. In the area of co-curricular, wanted to let you know that on Saturday, April 12th, the New Hampshire TSA conference and competition occurred. 90 students from around New Hampshire competed. Our students earned medals in 9 categories with many first place awards. We're very proud of the PES TSA chapter and the leadership of Julie Panis. So thank you to her for making that happen. We really do have a
Strong.
incredibly strong science and technology program. National History Day competition at PSU was held for the state level qualifying round. And the theme of this year's event was rights and responsibility in history. And Ian Ludwig won first place for his essay on Jonas Salk. He will move on to the national level and travel with his father to DC. And Alistair Gondry also participated and he placed third. And Geneva Sambor is the teacher who really has supported the bulk of that work, a little bit with Katie Chamberlain as well. And Geneva Sambor is thinking that she will have an after-school club for New Hampshire, or for the National History competition next year, so that's really exciting. We've had great success in the school for that as well, so it's really nice to think about both the humanities and the sciences as strong and, a place that we can put some good energy. Student shout-outs in April, Tunisi Simmons and Riley Woodbury each won a CARE Award, so congratulations to both of them. Teachers and staff shout-out, wanted to congratulate Donia Ursula on being named the 2025 Janice Hennessy World Language Teacher of Excellence by the New Hampshire Association of World Language Teachers. She'll be honored at the conference in October. She really is a phenomenal Spanish teacher. I was recently in the class with first graders, and she has them speaking in conversation in, predetermined sentences, but really teaching them conversing, how to converse in Spanish, and it's really wonderful. Thank you to Geneva Sambor, as I already said, for supporting the students involved in the National History Day project. And I wanted to thank Jen Weatherby. She brought a group of 6 students to the to Swan Lake Science Center for a day looking at sustainability and had them participate in a full day of activities over there. So just taking some more leadership in getting kids involved in sustainability. PTA has their meeting Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. and wanted to thank them for organizing the teacher appreciation luncheon this week. It's a day that all the staff in the whole building look forward to, so thank you to the PTA for organizing that. Budget review, so that's it. And Kelly wasn't feeling well, went home today. She didn't have a lot of updates for athletics and safety, so. That is the principal's report.
Super, thank you very much. Does anyone have any further questions for Tanya? All right, awesome. Privilege of floor number 1. Anything on Zoom? All right. Budget review.
Who passed these around for me? I just like to, towards the end of the year, do our checks and balances, and then what we had talked about through budget season as well, as far as deferring some of the facilities projects if there is money at the end of the year, some unanticipated funds as well for student needs is something we review now. And so June, you can really close out the books with Dan as far as what money will go to the capital reserve. You have that warrant article that was voted on where up to 50,000 can be transferred over. So this is our first look at it. And so if you look at the right-hand column, you can just see where there's been savings. Those in parentheses is where it was overspent. So certain things like sometimes special ed, regular ed tuition, health insurance, you can see there was a savings there, and that's just shifting of plans, whether it's new staff or not. So there's a savings there. Other notable lines is the sped tuition. And you can see that moves with a deficit for special ed aid. So a lot of these lines kind of switch out based on services and where kids move in and out of the district. Another big savings was construction services at the bottom. And you can see that was a huge savings from the library renovation project. So there's a surplus in those funds left over as well. So looking at May, you're in good shape at this point. We do have a few projects that I would like to look at. One, I spoke with the special ed director as well as the facilities and Tanya. And the first piece was, I'll do the facilities first. Any questions on just where everything's at this point? There's still obviously some expenditures on the left, like the food service transfer and spring co-curricular. Our athletics still need to pay it out, so that's that's figured into the bottom line as well. Sam,
So
do you have a question?
yes, thanks, Kyla. So
Yeah.
the total 578 on the right, that corresponds to the 579 on the left. Like that's our starting. Those are more or less.
Correct.
That's
Correct. Yes.
synonymous.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean, unexpected balance per, what's that word?
Oh, that's the software that we use for accounting.
Oh, I.
Yep. It's a little nickname. Is this
I'm not understanding the $70,000 on spring co-curricular.
So it's all co-curricular and athletics that still need to be paid out, whether it's a year-long.
Oh,
Yep, as
it's
well.
just we haven't,
Yeah,
it hasn't finished yet.
that's going to be
Okay.
spent.
We'll
Yes,
spend that at
yes,
next month's meeting.
Yes, that's, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the bulk
That
of
makes
that, the
sense.
bulk of that.
Those all close out at the end of the year, so those contracts are paid out.
and does that include transportation?
Yes. What do you mean? Oh, as far as, no. So transportation is different.
That's a different line.
All under transportation, so the line on the right, you could see we're over. And it's not because of regular ed transportation or co-curricular transportation, it's because of special ed transportation.
Okay.
But all three of those are included in that transportation line.
So why is that number not the same? I don't understand that.
Because it's a approximate number, so it's
Okay,
he carries it over a little differently in the accounting system.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at the end, after everything's paid, if we decide to retain the 353,965.
So right now, your current projected fund balance is 499,000 approximately. That's what you have at this point with the already anticipated payouts that we have at the end of the year.
Okay,
And then we do have some facilities needs and some special ed needs, and then you'll still, with those needs, have enough money to give back some and to
Retain
put the
some.
50, yes, and to put the 50,000 into the cap reserve.
okay,
Okay?
yep.
So there's a couple pieces as far as facilities, and feel free to jump in. With the position of we're running into some space issues as far as specialists, special education areas,
ESOL.
ESOL, your English language learner teachers up in the conference room now. So we're just running into a little with those specialty positions that have increased over the past few years. Not necessarily a classroom issue, but more just small group areas where kids can work. But we have the assistant to the principal coming.
Right. I'm wondering about where
So
that is.
we'd like to, there's an issue with supervision on the bottom floor by Parks and Rec, that hallway down there by the locker rooms. And with the assistant to the principal job overseeing athletics, it would be really great to have an administrator down in that area. So we'd like to build an office there off the locker room.
But
And
with
there's
a
a
doorway
space.
to the hallway.
A doorway to the hallway where that person would be down in that end down there. And it gives them space without us taking over the conference room again. And we may have to use this room as the additional kindergarten room,
Well, not as
Or-
kindergarten, but
as a room.
it may go back, this room may need to go back to being a classroom.
Yeah,
So you have to build, that space has to be big enough if the person is doing in-school suspension, right? And keep-
They don't, it may not, they might have space for one student. There is a small storage room already as a part of the boys' locker room that has an internal door to the locker room, solid, no glass door to the locker room. So we would be, much like we put the door in over here in
Yeah.
S1A,
Yeah,
it's about the same size as that space,
okay.
maybe even actually a little bit bigger. And it would have, be finished nicely in keeping with the rest of the building. And it
No
just,
window.
it will have a window.
We'll put it,
It absolutely will have a window. And it may even have a side light, so that it will be a very usable
we
space.
usually do a door like this one here, and then like a window next to it, so people can see in at all times. For that piece, so that's the first project, and that's priced out at $24,000. The next piece is the repaving area next to the gym and transformer.
It's a total crumbling apart sidewalk, and for voting, for all sort, and for events where we come in the back door, we have a major drainage issue on this property at all times, and it's a safety issue. It really needs to get done for safety reasons.
What's the cost on that one?
17.5 on that.
Could we at the same time get a sign out there
That says,
that says Plymouth Elementary School? There's no, like, when you're coming in to a game or to the dances or to vote, there's no, right where,
Talking about above the gymnasium entrance, kind of, or just by that parking lot?
there's a little piece, I haven't been out there in a while, but there's, next to the generator, between the generator and the door, there's
that
a
raised.
raised area that could really use the sign that says Plymouth Elementary School right there.
That might be a great Eagle Scout project for one of the Duchette kids.
Oh, it
I think they're all done. I think they're all done.
I'm just
But-
saying, they're into signs. and-
Yes. Yes. There actually used to be a wooden sign back there.
No, there wasn't. There hasn't been since.
Okay.
I wonder if we could put it on the.
I was here when we
Okay.
started.
V part that comes above the door.
Yeah, I don't know, there's just no showing, like, back
Gymnasium-
entrance,
Gymnasium
gymnasium.
entrance,
Yeah.
auditorium, yep.
A
voted.
lot of people, when they enter, they're like, is this how I get to the gym?
Right.
And they just really don't know.
Right. Well,
It
we,
would be,
I know,
it
that
would be a
something we
good.
could talk about.
we can explore the cost of that and get back to you
Yes.
for the June meeting.
I don't have that on my list.
All right.
Draining by the recreation shed, which is at $4,750. And then the repaving of the PES portion of Old Ward Bridge Road and the sidewalk. So you have, the hill is the town, and then you have a utility pole that basically starts the PES property over to the island at PRHS.
Huh.
I was
So
just
that's-
noticing how
That's
potholed it is.
all PES, that's your property there. Obviously, the paving is an issue right there, as most of you know, if you hit that pothole over and over again. And then Rob Cormia, who oversees,
Parks.
Yep.
is concerned with the sidewalk in that area as well. So total for that is $34,000 for that fix
Wow.
in that area. More than anticipated, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
It's expensive.
It is.
It's really expensive.
So that's it as far as as projects, and that comes to about $80,250 for facilities.
Okay.
Um,
Was any of this budgeted or?
So this is what, typically, if there's unreserved funds at the end of the year,
Okay.
and if there's issues, sometimes defer some of those facilities pieces if there are funds at the end of the year to fix them, so. The other piece is, so there, we have a special ed need of $92,000 for out-of-district placement to San Anne's home residential facility, so
What?
St. Anne's Home, that's in Massachusetts.
Oh.
Yeah. That was unanticipated.
So how does that work?
What's that?
Excuse me, how does that work? So like we have so we have a student that has to go to Massachusetts, right? Can you
Yes.
talk more about that, please?
Yes. So I can't give too much detail about the student, but I could say that it was unanticipated throughout this year. So some of the funds that we projected for the added district covers that, and we're about 90,000 short to cover the rest of that, given the services that the student needs. So that would be used.
The student gets sent there because they're beyond what we
Correct.
can service them in this
And they'd
district.
either be placed by court,
Yeah,
DCYF, or school placement.
And we have an an obligation to,
Right. St. Anne's is an all-girls facility. There are very few girls' facilities in New Hampshire. I think there's one.
We're sending them to Massachusetts, but it's all
Yeah.
girls.
and it's all required by law that we
Yeah,
have
there's
to-
not many.
and it's a Plymouth student, like
Yes.
it's a Plymouth.
Correct.
Okay.
Elementary students.
Yeah.
And remember, sometimes we don't even see these students if they're placed by foster care.
Yeah.
Then we're responsible for the bill as well. So, the other piece is, and the last piece is 159,000 needed towards Bill White services. And those are students that have recently moved into the district within the past month and a half for next year.
159,000 for next year?
Next year,
Add on.
In addition to.
in addition to.
So these are items that are not on this sheet currently. These.
Correct, so this is what I would like to recommend that you do purchase orders now for next year, so we have it covered.
Okay, I'm sorry, can we repeat those last two numbers again, please?
Sure, 90,000 for the out-of-district to St. Anne's Home residential facility, and 159,000 to Bill White services. And that's usually a behavior specialist that has to come in with typically students with autism.
Is it 90 or 92?
92.
Okay.
Oh, it's 92.
Where are my
So we're
glasses?
taking the money
It's 92. Yeah.
in this year's budget, writing a purchase order
Cutting a
now
purchase order now.
for this year's to pay for next year.
Yeah, and it's really gonna be interesting what happens at the state level too. This is exactly kind of target that you worry about as far as the special ed funding and school funding. And naturally, districts are left with these unanticipated costs without a real guarantee of getting recouped for the money. And this is exactly what districts are going through, and you see much higher numbers in the southern part of the state where they're being hit with multi-million-dollar placements that they can't pay for. So that's just the other piece as far as, what's going on at the State House as far as their state budget, which has some significant impacts on school
Which is why
funding.
we always want to try to retain as much money, if we have any money left over at the end of the year, we have historically in the past given it back at the tax rate.
Mhm.
But due to these unforeseen circumstances this year, we said we need to hold on to as much money as we can because we don't know what's gonna happen.
And then part of what some of the recommendation from maybe the School Boards Association as well is for districts to start setting up not your just capital improvement, the capital reserves, but having a special ed fund where you put money into each year. But the special ed piece is so much more unpredictable.
Right.
You can spend maybe 20,000 that you need or 600,000. So you just
And that's allowed now to do that? I knew you could do a capital reserve fund, but.
Yeah, so that's something that some districts are putting back in place, so we may want to talk about that at next year's budgeting.
What is it called?
It's just a special ed reserve or for exact situations like this. Because with some of the laws going through and the lack of funding, because remember, the state said we've been getting about 60% of catastrophic aid or special ed aid. They said they were gonna fund it to what it's supposed to be, which is really maybe 80% if it passes. So it's still not at full. So just a side note.
So what we're talking about here is taking the 449,000, the net unreserved fund balance,
Correct.
and so that's leftover money that has not been used that we had budgeted for
Correct.
this school year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're contemplating deploying 80,000 of it toward the facilities that we just discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And then roughly 260,000 for these special education services that we're required to do.
Correct.
That's for next year.
Correct. And you cut the purchase order now, so it's good for next year.
So to the extent these expenses were also incurred this year, that's already baked into these numbers on the right. Like, we've already paid for these two vendors, if you will, these two services for this current school year.
Correct.
So
Yes.
we are
Correct.
actively taking money that we have left over. We're looking ahead, we're seeing that we expect to have these expenses next year, and we're
Mhm.
setting aside money to cover them.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you still have funds to give back and then retain and to put into the capital reserve.
We will still have about 118.
So you need a motion for that?
So I need an approval for the purchase orders for the facilities projects
Okay,
first, for the 80,250.
okay. Someone would like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, for the 80,250 for the facilities, maintenance cost.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And then I would need a motion to approve to cut a purchase order prior to June 30th for $92,000 to St. Anne's Home Residential Facility.
Do you also want the Bill White service, or do you want to
Separately.
do them separately?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so moved.
okay, okay, all in favor of the 92,000 for the district
Aye.
placement?
Aye.
Aye.
And then lastly,
159?
159,000 to the William White Services purchase order for 25-26 before the end of June.
So moved.
All right. Someone want a second?
Second.
Sam, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And then, thank you, and then I'll have Dan come to the next meeting to close everything out on the 2nd. That will be your last meeting before the fiscal year ends June 30th. We'll go
Right
from
when I was
there.
thinking we were doing so well.
At least we're being proactive and planning ahead.
Absolutely.
Is that all?
That's all I have.
Okay, perfect. And then, lunch prices?
Sure, so
I thought
each,
we approved the increase already.
you have to go up in increments of 10 cents a year.
I thought we did an 8-cent one recently, didn't we?
You've done 10 cents over the past, you have to do a minimum of 10 cents.
Okay,
And it's really to cover so I'll read Dan's memo out loud, because it's always a good justification. We're required to complete a task known as the Price Lunch Equity Tool as a part of our annual application to the National School Lunch Program. The purpose of this exercise is to demonstrate that the federal money is not supporting the cost of meals for those that are not qualified for the benefit. The current price for lunch of $3.20 falls well below the federal reimbursement rate of $4.52. Fortunately, we are not required to increase more than 10 cents in a given year. I recommend a motion to increase the price per meal by 10 cents for all complete meal services, both breakfast and lunch,
which we've done
every year.
essentially,
Yeah.
since I've been board member.
It's a different district's effort to get closer to what we get from the federal reimbursement.
Okay, someone want to make that motion to increase the lunch prices by 10 cents?
I'll make the motion to increase the lunch program by 10 cents.
And that's breakfast
I'm
and
so- I'm
lunch.
sorry, can we just
Right.
talk, so, are we getting reimbursed for more than we're charging? I'm confused.
Yeah, so that's on the full, so The current price for lunch is $3.20, which falls well below the federal reimbursement rate of $4.52. Fortunately, we're not required to increase more than 10 cents in a given year.
So we're getting completely reimbursed.
You get reimbursed, yeah, which is on the revenue side of your budget.
Okay. So by
And this is for
increasing,
kids that are paying full price. It's not for free and reduced.
right, so right now we're charging kids $3.20. They're paying
Yes.
it, but then we're getting reimbursed from.
Then you get reimbursed as well.
Okay, so we're getting dollars in from the students and then also dollars in
From the federal.
from the federal government.
Yes, yeah, and they're reimbursing us at a rate of $4.52.
As of
So,
right now.
as of,
Not for the they're not reimbursing for a student who's paying,
They're
the
not
student who-
reimbursing for
so-
a student who's paying, right, because we'd
right?
be making money,
Right.
right.
I
We
thought
don't
that's
make
what
money.
you were just asking.
Right.
And
They are only we are charging less, we are charging our full pay students less than what we are charging the federal government. But we don't, we don't set the rate for the federal government.
Right, so, right, so like, if we increase the price of school lunch for those kids that qualify for free and reduced, we're getting a larger reimbursement because we're
Correct.
charging more. We're also charging those who do pay, we're increasing their cost.
correct,
Correct,
Just-
yes,
Yeah.
10%, 10 cents, yes.
10 cents.
Okay. So we just need to vote to approve an increase.
At least a minimum of 10 cents. You can go more, but the requirement is at least 10 cents a year. So we just do the minimum every year.
And does the cost, the money we take in, that just partially offsets the cost of the lunches? Or it doesn't, does it
It
cover
pays,
the,
it pays for that student, it pays for that student's lunch, because
but then how do we, why are we setting it rather than the people who are selling us the food? Or,
So we contract out with that company,
right,
Cafe Services.
yeah,
And then there's a subsidy that goes into that, and then their lunches go in as far as reimbursement as well on the
Right.
revenue side.
right,
part of the contract with Cafe Services is to make it affordable, so that for parents and families, that the rate of the school lunch is something that they can manage.
right,
So that if you don't qualify for free and reduce,
yeah.
you can still make sure your kids are getting a decent couple of meals a day.
Yeah, and as it stands today, how does the cost of one student's lunch compare to how much we're charging? Like, are we paying $3.20?
It used to be that the district subsidized,
Right,
and
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah,
we don't do that anymore in Plymouth.
and it's a small number.
Yeah,
It used to be
It used to be a lot.
70,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
When I was on the school board, it was, we were spending $70,000 or $80,000 a year to subsidize the lunches for everybody.
Right,
And
and
As a-
so,
district, we decided not to do that anymore.
right, so we don't do that anymore. And so, is it fair to say that we're charging essentially the cost to get the food?
Yes.
And so if we increase, like, we've chosen 10 cents, and why do we raise it 10 cents versus 20 cents versus 50 cents versus, I guess 10 is the minimum, right? So
10
that's,
is the minimum.
Yeah, so
so
that's.
if we're trying to,
Trying to break even, right?
Keep it affordable.
We're
And
just
trying to make it affordable.
Yeah.
right,
Is
we're
what we're
trying to
trying to
keep the
do.
cost as low as possible for our kids, then we would want to do the minimum 10%, 10
10
cents. 10 cents.
Now, I'm sorry in advance. Another thing to consider is, we had a parent come to this meeting to talk about the health of the lunches, and do we want to invest in more money in that? And, as a district, having sat in where you're sitting and sat as a parent here and being a part of the conversations a long time ago, we really decided we wanted to make things affordable for working families.
Yeah.
Right? And that in order to have a budget that worked for the whole town, that we were working at that point. And we decided a long time ago not to subsidize that.
Well, it's subsidized less, it's
Less,
it's not
right,
a break
less.
even.
It's not a break
business.
even, but
But it's much less than it used to be, and it's under contract, so it's not a service we can change at this point. But definitely, this is more or less to say, the purpose of the exercise is to demonstrate that the federal money is not supporting the cost of meals for those who are not qualified for the benefit. I mean, that's the only purpose of this memo, is to increase it by the 10 cents for those that are not qualified, so they're not free and reduced. Because the feds are paying us for the free and reduced kids, $4.52, for, you know.
right.
So they're just asking us to break even a little bit more, which is a little bit of an increase.
closer.
Get a little closer.
Have you gotten a lot of feedback from parents about the food?
No, I have not gotten a lot of feedback. I will say we get a lot of thank yous for we have a fruit and veggie grant in the afternoon, so every child in the school gets an afternoon fruit and veggie snack, you know, at about 1:30 or 2 o'clock, and it's, you know, watermelon or an apple or an orange, and
It's amazing.
it is amazing, and
It's amazing.
it's just there, it's available, kids eat it. Boy, do we get a lot of thanks for that. If that grant went away, I would want to say out loud to this community, that is worth us funding. Because the
100%.
number of kids who get an extra really healthy fruit and vegetable snack at the end of the day, and
And it goes.
we put some in some backpacks too. You know, like we have food that's gonna go rotten and go into a compost bin. We put it in a backpack and it goes home and it gets eaten. And I stand by that, and I will stand up loudly and say, you know, so that is worth funding.
Plymouth has consistently qualified for that based on your poverty rate in Plymouth, or your free and reduced rate.
What is the amount of that grant? Do you know off the top of your head?
I wanna say 30,000, but
Yeah.
30 or just under 30,000.
And so if the cost of the lunch, the cost to us is still higher than what we're charging for the
Federal reimbursement.
well, we're getting reimbursed for the whole thing for
Free and reduced.
for free and reduced. So for the full pay folks, the cost of the lunch that we're providing is still higher than what we're charging, it sounds
By
like.
a little bit.
By a little bit.
Mhm.
Okay. So then if we're required to increase by 10 cents, that's the minimum, then I could get behind, like I could be supportive of increasing it by the minimum to keep it as affordable as possible, knowing that, I mean, we're not making a profit here, we're still,
Right.
we're actually still like.
You're still subsidizing
What do we
it.
have in the
Yeah.
line item for that, or is that,
What's that?
what do we have in the budget that we're actually now paying?
don't have it
Do we even know because it's.
Yeah, I wanna say, I have 8 schools in my head, so I don't wanna say a number. I wanna say it's around 25,000-ish for the subsidized.
And it used to be
It would be on almost the last page. Yeah,
Food service,
is it around 20?
transfer to food service fund of $10,000.
Should be supervision of food services. Contract right there, 10,000, that's what it is, yeah. So that's less than I thought for the
So the
subsidy,
school,
yeah,
the town,
yeah.
the budget.
It used to be, when we first started contracting out, it was like, it was paying for itself, but
Right.
costs have gone up, so that has gone up a little bit. But compared to what it was a decade ago,
Yeah.
still a savings of 60 to 70,000 a year.
Do we have any sense of how many students use the hot lunch program? Percentage-wise?
I could get that I wouldn't want to guess. I could get that for you for next month.
I know it's more on Fridays.
Pizza is very, and breakfast for lunch.
And breakfast for lunch.
And breakfast for lunch.
And when they buy snacks, it's an extra $2 on top of the fee for the lunch.
Those are the à la carte items
Those
that
are
children
all
can
Yes.
choose.
So,
Yeah.
although the $3.10 is an affordable meal, when your child buys 3 snacks a day, extra drink,
Yep.
it's, you know,
Yes.
your $50
That's true.
that you put in their account a week goes fast. And then you have to have a conversation with your child and say, I paid for lunch, $3.10, period.
I know it sounds funny, but that, I don't think that the kids should be allowed to buy a snack with the money that their parents are giving for their lunch. They should have to bring cash for that. Like, I
They want a
remember
snack?
having that, that's, you know, you
Yeah,
get,
that's a big
Every-
you get the bill after the fact.
Yeah.
Every
Now
year.
you're like having the conversation with your kid.
We
that
were having this
in third
conversation
grade,
today.
Yes.
That they don't really understand anything about money, but I don't know why we let them do that.
We often have to educate
Huh?
kindergartners and
I
kindergarten
know.
parents
Mhm.
around it, and we,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
it's a
understand why
challenging-
we even-
it's also an opportunity for kids to be educated about money, so you could ask
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you get $1.50 a week for a snack, you can use it on the day you wanna use it, but that's all you get for, you know, so different families do different things around it. We've gotten ice cream down to 1 day a week. We've gotten ice cream down to 1 day.
Excuse me. Okay. Sam, are you comfortable with increasing it by the 10 cents? Or
Yeah,
do you
so-
wanna, are you thinking you wanna do more?
No, I'm fine with it. I guess I'm just curious. So we're doing, like, this feels like a budget thing. I mean, I guess we are talking about budget stuff now. Like, why now and why not next month or last month?
Well, it's always at the end of the year that it's typically required
Okay,
during
so
this time.
it's a
Yeah, so
school
it's
year
just a regular annual piece from the business office that Dan says,
Okay.
you know, at the end of the year, you have to, Plymouth isn't even with the federal reimbursement, so they have to do at least 10 cents.
Yeah. And then that is something that we can talk about too for when we do the budget next year, if you wanted to add more money to that line.
Yeah,
item
some
to
districts have
allocate
had to spike,
money.
yeah, because but they were really low.
Yeah.
Or hadn't done it in a while, so. You guys have been consistently doing the 10, so there's not a
It's not a huge jump.
huge issue.
We're not concerned about a spike in the food prices coming up within the next year?
I could be concerned about lots of things. I don't know what's gonna
We have
happen.
to deal with the numbers we
Yeah,
have now.
yeah,
Okay, fair
yeah, this
enough.
is what's required now.
Yep,
Yeah.
I understand that.
So there was a motion on the floor by Fran
To 10 cents?
to
Yeah.
10 cents. to
I'll
increase-
second it.
Okay, all in favor of that, increasing the lunch, is breakfast and lunch by 10 cents?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Does that happen next year?
Yes, that would
Yes.
happen for next year.
All right, privilege of the floor number 2. All right. Well, thank you for coming to this meeting. Did everybody sign the?
I have them right here.
Okay, perfect. And any correspondence?
No correspondence. I would just like to formally nominate Kelsey Mom as a special educator for next year. We did an email, and I just want to formally nominate her for approval tonight.
And
That's exciting.
who was she?
She is replacing Lori Cleary.
Perfect.
And so I'll need a motion on that for the
Oh.
25-26 school year.
So, okay, someone would like to make a motion.
So moved.
I'll make a motion,
Sam did.
nomination of Kelsey Long.
Sam did.
Sam did, you
Oh,
seconded.
sorry.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then we need a motion to go into non-public.
That's really it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's it
For
for
person-
public, yeah.
Okay.
I'll make,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public.
Okay.